I haven't had the occasion to go to East Palestine. There's a lot going on here, and I just haven't been able to break. I was thinking whether I'd go to East Palestine this week, but I then was reminded I've got to go literally around the world.
He was reminded he's got to go literally around the world. Maybe somebody should tell him that it's pronounced East Palestine so that he can pronounce the name of the town correctly that suffered a very traumatic hazmat incident with the train derailing there. But that's Joe Biden. It's, when you're a Democrat, you don't have to pronounce the name of the town correctly, and you don't have to go there, even though you said you'd be going there. Even though there was a massive calamitous catastrophe there. Our own little Bhopal of sorts. Chemical hazmat calamity, train derailment, middle of town. Oh, but Pete Buttigieg went there a month or so later, and he was a disaster when he went there, too. But pay no attention to that. Happy Tuesday to you, and welcome back. We continue to be at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625 is our telephone number. And we were just talking about ABC fake news and George Stephanopoulos and the New York Times and Peter Baker. And speaking, like from the first party narrative, we, the Democrat Party, it's what we think. It's what we're planning on doing. And Joe Scarborough and so we got NBC News, ABC News, the Washington Post, and the New York Times all talking about poll numbers, and they can't believe the Wall Street Journal poll showing Joe Biden with 46% and Donald Trump with 46% of the American vote. And they're shocked. They're like, come on, we're pedaling as fast as we can. They've pulled out all the stops to destroy President Trump. And of course, Eugene Robinson with, we have to destroy the Republican Party in order to save it is what they're telling us. It is, it's a violent party. They riot, they loot, they burn, they attack the police, they destroy businesses. They're destroying cities, as a matter of fact, not just for businesses, but for everybody. Speaking of which, I probably need to look for the update, but as of this morning anyway, 3-day weekend, shootings in Chicago this weekend, at least 38 shot, 4 fatally in gun violence across city. That's Chicago. Now, I'm going to wait. Hang on. There is an update. 39 shot and 6 shot fatally. Labor Day weekend violence. Turns out everybody that shot somebody was a Democrat. That's the one thing police can say. Pretty amazing stuff. So 6 fatally shot, 39 in total shot. And of course, in Washington, D.C., they never update these numbers in Washington because, they only do it for Chicago and maybe Baltimore. But it turns out over the weekend, I woke up on Saturday morning and we had 5 people murdered in Washington, D.C., starting Friday afternoon, holiday weekend, through Saturday morning, 5 people murdered. There were 2 women shot to death on 7th Street Northwest, kind of close to where the hockey team and the basketball team play downtown Washington. And 2 women shot and killed, and a teenage girl shot and wounded, and she was in critical condition last time I looked. And then, young men shot to death over here, and some random guy, I think, shot to death. A lot of people being shot to. You know why? Democrats. Democrats is the correct reason. That's the thing. And the Democrats, they're bringing it everywhere. In Orlando, Florida, teen arrested in drive-by shooting that killed man, 6-year-old girl in Orlando. Killed a man and a 6-year-old girl because, Democrats and their indiscriminate violence. They like to ban guns because that way they think their sons will stop shooting people. But that's not true because they banned guns in Chicago. They banned guns in Washington, D.C. These are all illegal guns. There's not a legal gun being used in any of the murders that I just described here. So pay no attention to any of that. But that's the Democrat Party's big lie, one of their big lies. Oh, it's the guns. It's the guns. Stay away from those cans. He hates those cans. It's truly amazing. On a 3-day weekend, you always have to look at the 3-day weekend totals because crazy. And the Democrats are, opening our borders. I told you about the mass murderer out of Brazil who was convicted of murdering 11 people in Brazil. And he escaped, and then he walked right into the United States. He was waved in by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, got a gift basket and, a banana hat, and came in. And he was arrested in New Hampshire by ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, which most Democrats don't cooperate with. If not most, then a great many don't cooperate with ICE. But that guy, and also we still have this other he was an illegal alien who had murdered 11 people and been convicted of it in Brazil. Then he escaped and he came to the United States where he was just wandering around. And Immigration Customs Enforcement eventually arrested him in New Hampshire, of all places. And now we've got, last time I looked up, I don't think they've captured the murderer, the illegal alien murderer, also from Brazil in Pennsylvania, who escaped last week. And yesterday he was still on the loose. I assume he's still on the loose today. They just stopped talking about it after a while, the media, because it's not good for the Democrat Party. But amazing stuff. It's your Democrat Party. Also a crazy story out of Washington, D.C. Survey ranks D.C. as one of the least desirable places to live. That's the headline from the Fox News people. According to the survey, the most desirable places to live have low crime rates, no kidding, affordable homes, yes, and a low cost of living. Sounds charming, doesn't it? Wait, low crime rate? What's that? Do you love where you live? A recent survey by Home Bay, a real estate education platform in partnership with Allied Van Lines, one of the world's largest moving companies, found that survey participants ranked Washington, D.C., where I live and where I'm broadcasting from right now, as one of the worst places to live in the United States. Now, Washington, D.C. is in a great many ways a beautiful city. It's our nation's capital, and one of the world's great cities. But the left is here, and the left ruins everything because they're pro-crime, they're pro-criminal, they're anti-police. They love carjackings and murders and shootings and mayhem. And honestly, stores are folding up all over the place, restaurants. The survey aimed to find which cities were the most desirable to live in the United States in 2023. And according to the survey, the most desirable places have low crime rates, affordable housing, and a low cost of living. Rural, 21%, and suburban, 24% of residents agree that the District of Columbia is the most undesirable city, while urban residents, 16%, rank it number 4, according to the survey. So as a result, the survey outlines that many residents left D.C. in 2022. However, due to its transient market, residents are said to move in and out often with election cycles. That's mostly myth, by the way. I happen to know a lot about this. And oh, yeah, every 4 years you got election. Yeah, that doesn't really count for many people in the District of Columbia. More in Virginia, some in Maryland, and some in D.C., but not that many. The survey also collected information on what makes a great place to live, what contributes to making a location overrated, and what American cities residents are leaving in 2023. Seattle, Washington was named the most desirable and underrated city to live in. Sure, especially if you like looting, because, you can loot there. Can't you loot there for free like in California? And the businesses are fleeing there like the city's on fire. So pretty amazing stuff. And WUSA Channel 9, the CBS affiliate in Washington, D.C., previously covered the poll that outlined D.C. being one of the friendliest cities in the U.S. That's a completely fake poll. I can tell you that because that's not true. People here don't look you in the eye. They don't say hello. It's like a science fiction movie most of the time with the people in D.C. But there you go. According to the poll, the friendliest cities were Austin, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbus, Ohio, San Antonio, Texas, El Paso, Texas. It sounds like Texas is a pretty friendly place. D.C. came in at number 20 on the list, the 20th when it comes to being friendly. So we got that going for us. And speaking of which, we have many grocery stores here, as you might imagine, including the main. We got Safeway and Giant grocery stores, and then your fancy ones as well. But a DC grocery store is removing Tide, the laundry detergent, Colgate, and Advil to deter theft. Now, how that will deter theft, I'm not sure. I don't think that it will. To avoid shutting down an unprofitable store in southeast Washington, D.C., where there's a great deal of crime, but the Democrats are spreading out crime across the city because they want to ruin the whole place, not just part of it. Giant Food will check receipts. As you leave the store, they're going to check receipts to see what you're stealing and remove products. So in the coming weeks, a Giant Food market in Washington, D.C. will clear its beauty and health aisles of all national labels. No more Tide, no more Colgate, no more Advil, only store brands. Then they'll steal those because that's what'll be there. Shoppers will also have to present their receipts to an employee before exiting the store. That's not going to go very well either. I can see how that's going to go. Violent assaults and, the usual. It's the regional supermarket chain's most overt gambit against rampant theft that's plaguing retailers of all sizes. It's also a potential last-ditch effort to avoid shutting down the unprofitable store on Alabama Avenue Southeast, the only major grocery store east of the Anacostia River in Ward 8. And the Democrats are going to rob it blind and it's already unprofitable, so they've bankrupted the store. And it's a big grocery store chain. And they're like, well, we're trying to fix it. And then they're going to create what they call a food desert, right? A food desert. And then the Democrats will blame giant food stores and capitalism because, crime and commies. The president of Giant Foods, Ira Kress, said, we want to continue to be able to serve the community, but we can't do so at the level of significant loss or risk to our associates that we have today. So they're being robbed blind by shoplifters, threatened and menaced, and their employees have to go to work in a place that's like a free fire zone in Beirut in the 1980s, and they've got to worry about their people being killed and mugged and robbed, and their cars being robbed and stolen and everything else. Shoplifting, organized crime, and violence have become significant concerns for regional and national retailers. Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, Dollar Tree, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Ultra are among those that flagged shrink. Shrink is a code word they use for being robbed blind by shoplifters, right? That's their thing. The depletion of inventory caused by something other than sales, that's theft, by Democrats, okay? That's what's going on. During their second quarter earnings call, they're like, hey, we're being robbed blind. We can't sustain this. We're going to have to change the way we do everything or close the store. And then the Democrats will blame everybody else. Growing losses have spurred giants like Walmart to shutter locations. They're destroying our cities because of all the crime. And, they're criminals. That's the thing. There are no MAGA hat-wearing Trump voters doing any of this. None of it. Not a bit. Every single loot job is Democrats. All the shoplifting. They've had to change all the grocery stores where I live in my neighborhood. And everybody, if women are running the stores, they lock the doors. An eyeglasses store where they let you in one at a time because Democrats come in and just fill their bags with everything on the shelves, and threaten the women and walk out. Democrats, and they're all Democrats. There's a lot of racism involved in this, too. I've got breaking news. President Joe Biden's plan to introduce the digital dollar is already nefariously underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences for you and for your family, for your retirement, because no matter what they're telling you, this is not in your best interest, and time is of the essence. So taking action now is the smart play. You can start by, protecting your savings from the risks of the digital dollar by diversifying with gold and silver IRAs. And you get the ball rolling there by calling the experts at American Alternative Assets. Call American Alternative Assets today at 888-4GOLD20. That's 888-446-5320. They'll give you all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings. So say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD20. 888-446-5320. Call them today. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Yeah, you're Democrats. They love crime and criminals, but they hate the police. Why is that? Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Lori Lightfoot, the former mayor of Chicago, being rewarded for being a failure, a disaster, and a racist. That's coming up. Democrats, they love all those things. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Daniel calling from Alexandria, Virginia. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
I was kind of taken aback, even though I really wasn't, over the weekend, to predominantly white high schools. When I was in high school, Walter Johnson and BCC had a football game, and they got to rolling a little thereafter, but it was relatively nothing, where a gang of young African-American kids beat the hell out of two white kids, but if it had been reversed, it would have been national news. But the only thing coming out of Montgomery County is, oh, well, we're going to have to review and see whether we're going to go from Tier 1 to Tier 2, possibly Tier 3, whatever that means. And it's like, hey, guys, this is what happens when you become sanctuary. And then to top it off, MSNBC and is more worried about whether Donald Trump can make money using his mugshot on T-shirts, coffee mugs, and so on and so forth. It's like, oh, doesn't that belong to Fulton County Jail?
Yeah, that's quite amazing. And I guess some people are owed a lot of back pay for the Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley and Martin Luther King mugshots. Going to have to get back pay on those. Hey, Jimmy Buffett died over the weekend, and I would have to go back and check to see how many texts I got over. It was a near record over Jimmy Buffett dying. I woke up, I guess it was Saturday morning, and one of the first texts I got was Jimmy Buffett died, and I said, wow, that kind of out of the blue and surprising. I said, wow, and it's I'm not like a parrot head, but his music has always been fun and happy music, and he's always smiling, and his music is like every time you hear a Jimmy Buffett song, it's like a quick trip to the beach with a margarita or something. He's got that margarita thing, and it turns out he was quite an amazing guy. Died at the age of 76. The New York Times said he was worth $1 billion. The Washington Post said he was worth $500 million. I assume they're both wrong because they are the New York Times and the Washington Post. And apparently he was a good friend of Warren Buffett, the investment guru. And they checked to see if they're related since they're both named Buffett, but apparently not. And And it was a sad thing, and it had to do with skin cancer that got out of control and metastasized and all of that. But a happy life. He's not just a man; he's a lifestyle, and kind of an amazing thing at these Margaritaville resorts, and he was in all kinds of businesses. He was a pilot, private aviation pilot, and kind of a fun guy, I gotta say. And he'll be missed. He was a happy, smiling, happy guy, happy music. And I don't recall him being political. I'm sure that his politics were what you'd expect, but I don't recall him being openly or annoyingly political. So there's that too. Listen, a lot to get to. Let's go back to the phones, Michael. Let's do that. Let's go to Jim calling from Naperville, Illinois. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, Chris. I wanted to get to your point about shrink. You were mentioning about the losses through shrink in the retail setting.
Yes.
And from what I recall of it, okay, say a store has a 5% profit margin, which is generous these days. They would have to sell 20 times the amount of that product to replace the one item that is stolen off the shelf. If their profit margin is more like 2.5%, which is more realistic, it'd have to be double that. They'd have to sell 40 items of the same bottle of Tide or whatever to replace that one bottle of Tide that was stolen out of the store.
Yeah, and I think that the grocery stores have said, and Giant Food has said, that they're operating at about 2%, about a 2% profit margin. And in D.C. and lots of places across the country, because the Democrats have made theft okay. And they really have. And in California, you can steal up to $950, and you're told that really you're not going to get in any trouble. They're not going to prosecute you, especially if it's a grocery store, because, it's the old AOC saying they're stealing loaves of bread like, Jean Valjean and it's Les Miserables or something ridiculous like that. But honestly, Jim, the Democrats have legalized crime, haven't they?
They absolutely have. And the impact, okay, so you're going to your analysis, that $900, almost $1,000 that they can take out of the store without any facing any criminal fine or anything. That store has to cover almost $50,000, in sales at least,
right,
to replace that. And so in that neighborhood, in that same neighborhood where you have that type of criminal, and so that's why it's going to become a food desert, and it's well deserved. I hate to say it. How these places stay there or situated there in the first place is beyond me, other than possibly tax incentives, from the local tax incentives. But then that falls by the wayside after 10 years or so, and then they're on the hook, and then the taxpayers on the hook for having to have funded a store that is unprofitable,
Well, and in California, not only have they made it legal in effect to steal $950 worth of product before they are interested at all, but now there are Democrats in California that are pushing legislation that would actually fine stores and store employees if they intervened when they're being robbed or shoplifted or looted. And so if an employee or even a business owner intervened and tried to stop a shoplifter, the person that tried to stop the shoplifter would be in trouble with the state of California, because the Democrats are pro-crime. And that really is just about all there is to it. They're pro-crime. They are on the side of crime and criminals, and not on the side of business owners or just completely crazy. The National Retail Federation, Jim, says that retail shrink, as they call it, mostly people stealing stuff from you. Some of it goes bad or gets lost, but mostly it's Democrats robbing you and stealing it from you, accounted for nearly $100 billion in losses in 2022. in 2022. And the Democrats in California want to fine business owners if they try to stop people from stealing from them. Because, wow.
It's incomprehensible. And how do you get your head around it? I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense, and it's unsustainable. And food desert. Sorry. So sorry. You can't get groceries in your neighborhood. Yeah.
And then, Jim, they're going to blame capitalism, and they're going to blame corporations. They're going to blame everybody except the criminals and the thieves, and we see it everywhere. We see the videos every day of gangs of Democrats going into stores and just robbing the place blind. Business owners in California and San Francisco and elsewhere are marching in the street saying, make it stop, make it stop. And it's all over the country. It's honestly, here's the California is so dedicated to that stupidity, they're now trying to pass Senate Bill 553, a law that supposedly bans employers from requiring employees to stop shoplifters, but in actuality could be interpreted to fine a business $18,000 every time they try to stop a criminal from stealing their stuff. Now, that is the end of civilization as we know it. And the Democrats are in favor of this stuff, Jim. They're nuts. They're out of their minds.
Well, you could ask the people on Maui if the Biden administration is going to help them out and send in supplies once the grocery stores leave these areas. Are they going to depend on the government to feed them?
Have you noticed now the FBI? Remember the FBI? They used to be a law enforcement agency. Now they're an engorged appendage on the body politic of the Democrat Party. The FBI has validated, that's the term that they use, there's a list of 385 people who are missing from the Lahaina fire. And 385 people, the Lokes came up with that list, and now the FBI says, yeah, that's right. There are 385 people missing. And also, 100 and some odd dead whose charred, burned bodies, including children, have been found. And I got to tell you, there's a news blackout on this, Jim, because it doesn't serve the Democrat Party well. So the news media is not talking about it. They're not reporting. You'd think you'd want to go to Maui and report on this for as long as possible, but they're just not covering the story. This town of 12,000 people or 13,000 people was just completely leveled. And we got, I think, last time I looked, 116 dead bodies and 385 missing. And it's a non-story. And the federal government response was utterly flat-footed. And Joe Biden went by for a few minutes, taking a break from yet another vacation. And where he was at the Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side where the Corleone family used to vacation. And he embarrassed himself. And boy, it's good to be a Democrat, isn't it, Jim? Because every time he's an idiot, the news media, and that's every time he shows up in public, the news media just covers for him, don't they?
Yes, and it is good to be a Democrat here on Earth. I hate to say it, when you go to the life after, I don't think it's going to be so good for them. Yeah,
ever the optimist. Jim, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful Naperville, Illinois day. A wonderful thing. All right, we've got more to get. Yeah, so the FBI validates 385 missing and way over 100 killed. And it's amazing what a non-news story this is. Just kind of extraordinary. I wonder what a news media would do if we had one in the United States of America. Man, I'm telling you. All right, so we on this is a ridiculous one too. In Florida, because they all hate Ron DeSantis, Tampa school cut back on Shakespeare, citing new state rules. Now, this is a group of radical left-wing teachers who are extremists who want to provide gay child porn to the first graders, like the book Gender Queer with the graphic depictions of man on boy and boy on man and all that stuff. English teachers in Hillsborough County are preparing lessons for the new school year with only excerpts from William Shakespeare's works. Students will be assigned pages from the classics, which might include Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet. But if they want to read them in their entirety, they will likely have to do it on their own time, because the radical left-wing child abusers in the school district, the officials there, they say that they redesigned their instructional guides for teachers because of the revised state teaching standards, which tapped the brakes on gay, LGBTQ child porn for grammar school going down to kindergarten and even pre-K in some cases. And they're saying, oh yeah, well then, Shakespeare has a kiss and there's romance, so we're going to ban Romeo and Juliet. And that's the game that they're playing. And you have to fight these morons, these idiots. And then, Ron DeSantis has to come out and point it out. And then the news media lies about it because that's what they do. So the school district said it was also in consideration of the law. School district spokeswoman Tanya Arja said, referring to newly expanded parental rights in education, a law passed by sane people in Florida. The measure, promoted and signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, tells schools to steer clear of content in any classroom discussion that is sexual in nature, unless it's related to a standard such as a health class. Yeah, well, that's not true. And of course, the Democrats, they bring in gender queer, which is gay child porn and graphic depictions of gay child porn. And then they become bitter and say, well, if we can't show gender queer to the kids, then we're not going to show William Shakespeare to the kids either. So this is what's going on with the dimwits there. They're not normal people. They're not good people at all by any stretch of the imagination. I'm telling you. You're a Democrat Party. They love gay child porn for kids in schools. Yes, they do. Also, you saw that Burger King is being sued because they show pictures of the Whopper, and some left-wing crazy lunatics are suing Burger King, saying, well, the picture in your advertisement makes the burger look bigger than it actually is. So we're going to sue you for millions of dollars for false advertising because the Whopper isn't really as big as it is in the picture here in the advertisement. Because, fast food giants like Burger King, Taco Bell, and McDonald's are finding themselves in hot water with impending class action lawsuits from disgruntled consumers. Actually, it's just a mad money grab is all it is. Find any excuse. This is largely as a result of too many lawyers, way too many lawyers with not enough to do. So they allege deceptive marketing practices threaten to nibble away at profits, here we go again, from some of America's most recognizable brands. A wave of litigation and recent settlements in the industry with A&W and Dr. Pepper agreeing to pay substantial $15 million in July because of advertising. And now Burger King being sued, saying it falsely portrayed its Whopper as being 35% larger in advertisements than they are in reality. This is lawyers, liars. That's why they call them liars, because it is lawyers, liars, and it rhymes and all that stuff. CBD is everywhere now, putting CBD in everything, everywhere you look. And my friends at Generic CBD have infused CBDs into their number one best-selling, deep-penetrating muscle and joint cream. And let me tell you, take a look at the reviews online. This stuff is amazing. Melts right into your knees, your elbows, your shoulder, your back, especially those stiff hands, your fingers and knuckles. Goes to work in a matter of seconds. And it's a fantastic moisturizer. The company is called GenericCBD.com. You've heard me talk about them before. They sell premium CBD products for a whole lot less cash. And right now, you can try their muscle and joint cream for free. For free. They're going to give it to you for free. You paid $2.95 to help with the shipping, but that's it. And don't worry, it's not a subscription. There are no strings attached. They just want you to try it because they know you're going to love it. You're going to get more for yourself and for your mom and for everybody. Get your free sample at genericcbd.com. That's GENERICCBD.com, genericcbd.com. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. Yeah, sue crazy. Too many lawyers. Hey, I got a burger and it's not as big as the one as I saw on TV. I'm going to sue them for millions of dollars. And then they settle out of court and the slime balls win again. I'm going to guess that there are a lot of Democrats involved in this. Yeah, and the Democrats are trying to rob Donald Trump again. Donald Trump has been selling swag with his mugshot on it. And now the left wants to steal the money from him. You know, all power comes from the barrel of a gun, as Chairman Mao and Democrats believe. Pretty amazing stuff. And I want to update you on the Trump mugshot and the fake controversy that the left is ginning up because they're insane. Let's go to the phones now, though. Let's go to Sid, calling from Los Angeles, California. Sid, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Yeah, Chris, good morning.
Hey there.
I just wanted to follow up about destroying the Republican Party. As an ex-Democrat, I believe the Democratic Party has been destroyed already. It's not the party that I used to belong to. And I call them commie-crats now rather than Democrats. And so I think you're right. They destroy things and change them for the worse.
Yeah, and you're another former Democrat, Sid, and then you got better. And you grew up and you see what was going on. And it's true, you know, John F. Kennedy today would be a Republican. The Democrats wouldn't allow John F. Kennedy anywhere near the Democrat Party. He'd be to the right of Mitt Romney, for sure, which isn't that hard, but he would be. And so you're a former Democrat, and you say you were listening to Eugene Robinson saying we have to destroy the Republican Party in order to save it. They destroyed the Democrat Party. And I guess that's their view is that they saved it, probably. Right, Sid?
Correct. They feel it's better.
Yeah. Yeah, if you like looting and carjacking and shootings and murder and mayhem and China and Russia and Iran rolling right over us, then you're a good Democrat.